He interrupted Trump in public and changed America forever. During the National Veterans Parade in Dallas, something happened that made the country stop. Amid the fluttering flags, rehearsed applause, and choreographed tributes, a 26-year-old former Marine broke through the security line and walked straight toward the President of the United States. In his hands he held a letter. But it wasn't just any letter, it was a final cry for help, written by a soldier who was no longer alive to read it. What drives a decorated veteran to confront the most powerful man in the world in front of cameras, security agents, and a crowd? And why were the words of Harper Reyes, a young woman forgotten by the system, powerful enough to shift national policy and turn grief into legacy? This story isn't just about an unexpected protest. It's about the silence that kills, the wounds that don't bleed, and how a painful truth can become the beginning of a revolution. Have you heard of the Harper Project? Have you ever wondered how many heroes return from war only to face an even crueler battle within themselves? Comment below. Do you think the government does enough for veterans? And what would move you more, a parade or an apology? Before the parade, before the national uproar, there was Harper Reyes, a young soldier with tired eyes and a paintbrush in hand. Harper didn't come back from war with shrapnel in her body, but with her soul in pieces. Diagnosed with PTSD, she spent months seeking help in the cold corridors of the Department of Veterans Affairs. Forms, lines, empty promises. She painted in silence, as if the canvas were the only place her pain was understood. I saw it up close. I saw her fighting, begging softly for help, because she already knew no one was listening. And when she was gone, she left behind a letter. Short, raw, devastating. I didn't die in combat. I died being ignored. Those words were stuck in my throat for months. How is it possible that someone who gave everything for this country receives only neglect in return? Harper didn't want cameras or tributes. She wanted to be heard. She wanted dignity. And that still eats away at me. Because when I handed that letter to the president, it wasn't out of courage. It was out of rage. Out of helplessness. Out of knowing there were more Harpers out there, unseen, fighting private wars every single day. The system failed. And that failure had a name, a face, a talent, and a story that deserved to be told. Harper Reyes wasn't just a statistic. She was my friend. My sister in arms. And every time I see a politician talking about honoring our heroes, I wonder if they could look into her eyes. That's why that moment at the parade happened. Because her silence was already screaming inside me. Because there are pains we can no longer keep inside. And because it's time to turn grief into a statement, and her art into justice. The video lasts no more than 40 seconds. It shows a bearded veteran, wearing nothing but a simple Marines t-shirt, walking determinedly toward the presidential platform. Secret Service agents close in, tense. But before they can act, Donald Trump raises his hand and tells them to let him through. Noah extends the letter, folded into fourths, already damp with the sweat from his hands, and simply says, "It's from a soldier named Harper Reyes. She died at home, but the war was still inside her." Trump holds the paper, unaware of its contents. For a moment, his normally unreadable expression softens. He looks at Noah and says low but clearly into the surrounding microphones, "I'll read this tonight." The video goes viral in under an hour. On social media, the hashtag letter to Trump explodes. In veteran groups, Harper's name begins to circulate like a shared scar. Thousands share similar experiences: failed attempts at care, ignored trauma, the constant fear of becoming the next statistic. A nation used to speeches about patriotism now witnesses the raw, unfiltered truth behind the medals. Noah didn't expect the reaction. But Harper, even in absence, found a megaphone. And Trump, for the first time in months, appears at a press conference visibly shaken, holding the letter with trembling fingers. He says, "This message kept me up at night. We must listen to those who come back from war with battles no one sees." The shift had begun. It was no longer just about a letter. It was about exposing a system that covers its eyes with the flag while burying its soldiers in silence. And now the country was finally starting to listen. Days after the parade, Noah is invited to the White House. But the invitation doesn't come with a red carpet. It comes with wary glances, strict protocols, and cold rooms where political smiles mask internal resistance. In a closed-door meeting, the president's advisors listen with apparent interest, but the atmosphere is calculated. One senator asks, "What if this sets a precedent for thousands of similar cases?" Another says, "We can't turn the government into an emotional support center." Despite growing visibility, Noah realizes he's in hostile territory. Politics moves slowly and fearfully. The most powerful names in Congress still see him as a potential liability, a passionate veteran carrying a message that's too dangerous. Patriotism isn't enough without empathy. In the conservative press, columnists lash out. Turning Harper Reyes into a martyr is cheap emotionalism. Others label the movement emotional blackmail disguised as art. The hashtag Harper Project is mocked by influencers as welfare wrapped in sentiment. Still, something begins to shift. The public stays engaged. Veterans' families write to Noah, sharing similar stories. Civil groups mobilize in support. And he, despite the bureaucratic walls, keeps moving forward. The resistance isn't just institutional, it's cultural. Admitting the system failed takes humility. And for many that's still unacceptable. Noah understands that turning Harper's pain into public policy will be a long battle, with obstacles at every corner of power. But her memory drives him. Because now it's not just about one letter. It's about all the letters that were never read. And all the voices that still need to be heard. The inauguration of the first Harper Reyes Center takes place on a gray morning in San Antonio, near Fort Sam Houston. Outside, a silent crowd. Inside, light-colored walls, artworks by veterans hanging like windows into souls marked by war. At the center, Harper's painting, After the Battle, a female figure in uniform sitting alone under a rain of white flowers. No weapons. Only silence. Only absence. Noah steps onto the stage and says, "This place is not a memorial. It's a new beginning. For those who stayed. For those who almost didn't." His voice falters for a second. But soon the audience supports him with applause, some standing, others in tears. Hours later, social media explodes with the hashtag Harper Project. No longer used solely as a form of protest, but now as a symbol of belonging. Veterans from across the country begin posting short videos, selfies in support clinics, testimonials of recovery. One of them writes, "I saw Harper's painting today. For the first time, I felt like someone painted what I could never say." The shift is irreversible. The story now has a physical body, a space where pain becomes expression and memory becomes construction. Critics remain, but their arguments grow weaker in the face of real images, of embraces, of conversations, of eyes learning to shine again. No one knows there's no going back. Harper is no longer alive, but her presence spreads like roots. From now on, every center built, every conversation started, will be part of something greater. The point of no return is not just political. It's moral. The nation was confronted with its own reflection. And now it either changes, or keeps bleeding its heroes in silence. Harper at last was beginning to be heard. Fort Sam Houston. The sun sets behind the Texan hills, painting the sky in orange and purple. Hundreds gather in front of the new Veterans Memorial, a circular space of white stone, surrounded by oak trees. At the center, a life-size sculpture of Harper Reyes. She sits, uniform pristine, a paintbrush in her right hand, her rifle leaning beside her, nearly forgotten. Her gaze, delicately sculpted, looks out toward the horizon as if still waiting for answers. Donald Trump is present, flanked by advisors and members of Congress. But this time there is no speech. He approaches the statue slowly, stops in front of it and remains in silence. For long seconds. Then he extends a hand, gently touches the pedestal and bows his head. It is the gesture of a man who recognized late but not in vain, the weight of his omission. Noah watches from a distance, beside Elena Reyes, Harper's mother. Neither says a word. Both hold white flowers. As they approach the statue to lay them down, a center volunteer hands Noah a brown envelope. "It arrived yesterday," she whispers. "It's from a girl named Ellie." Noah opens it. Inside, a handwritten letter from a 9-year-old girl. "My dad was a soldier. After he came back he cried a lot and yelled at night. He said he was going to leave. But yesterday he took me to the Harper Reyes Center. Today he hugged me again. Harper saved my dad. Thank you for telling her story." Noah's hands tremble. His eyes fill with tears. He reads the letter to Elena, and for the first time the mother who lost her daughter smiles, with pain but also with peace. In that moment it was no longer about politics, nor about protest. It was about healing. Harper, through art and love, was saving lives she never even knew existed. 2 weeks after the ceremony at Fort Sam Houston, the United States Congress holds an extraordinary session to vote on the final text of the Harper Reyes Act. The approval is overwhelming. 91 votes in the Senate, 382 in the House. The legislation transforms mental health care for veterans into state policy. With permanent funding, support centers in every region, and the inclusion of art therapy as an official practice in the Department of Veterans Affairs protocols. Noah watches the vote from the front row, alongside Elena and Micah Torres, Harper's former mission partner. Micah, who had vanished into his own trauma and addictions, is now a volunteer at the San Antonio Center, helping fellow veterans find their way back. During the session, he holds a small replica of After the Battle in his lap, like a sacred relic. Right after the law is enacted, Noah announces the creation of the Reyes Mission, a non-profit initiative focused on building spaces of art, listening, and support for veterans and their families. The headquarters is installed in a renovated military hangar, transformed into a living gallery, with rotating exhibitions of works created by veterans from across the country. Inside there are no uniforms, no flags, only colors, textures, voices that were once silent. During the inauguration, Noah says, "Harper taught me that sometimes the greatest battles don't leave scars on the skin, but on the soul. And that art can be a trench of hope." The words echo, because now there is structure. There is recognition. And above all, there is continuity. What began as a solitary outcry during a military parade has become a national movement. Harper, whose death was once ignored, now lives in every act of care. Her mission is not over. It just changed uniform. 5 years have passed. In an open field on the outskirts of Austin, under the clear Texas sky, a crowd gathers to witness the unveiling of a new statue, this time a permanent one. Harper Reyes, in bronze, life-size, stands at the center of a quiet esplanade. The statue depicts her standing tall, gazing forward with calm determination. In her right hand she holds a paintbrush like a torch. In her left, the rifle rests inverted, pointing to the ground, a symbol of mourning and transcendence. Around her are small plaques bearing the names of veterans who were supported, saved, or honored through the Harper Project. Among those present is Noah Caldwell. His hair now gray, beard thinning, eyes marked by time, but still steady. He watches silently as children of veterans, place white flowers at the statue's base. Flowers like the ones Harper painted. Flowers like the ones Noah laid at the first memorial years before. Elena Reyes, dressed in navy blue, holds Noah's hand. The two stand side by side as the announcer calls for a moment of silence. And in that instant, when everything seems to pause, Noah whispers, "She saved more with paint than with bullets." The crowd hears it. Many are moved. The phrase spreads, becomes a headline, becomes a tattoo. At the base of the statue, a single inscription reads, "Let no one else die in silence." The image of the sculpture becomes a national icon. School visits, memorial events, night vigils. But above all, it becomes a reminder, Harper was not forgotten. She became a language, a bridge, a symbol. And now she stands, forever. The camera slowly pulls back from the memorial at Fort Sam Houston, capturing the soft shimmer of white flowers swaying in the wind among the oaks. The sound is gentle, almost a whisper, as Harper's voice emerges in voiceover, serene and full of hope. "Thank you for hearing me. Thank you for not forgetting me." The scene shifts to a quick montage. Veterans smiling at support centers. Children holding up paintings. Volunteers hugging families. Each face carries a story, a scar that now finds healing. Noah appears one last time, walking slowly through the memorial, his hand gently brushing Harper's name engraved in the stone. He looks up to the sky with a quiet smile, knowing the fight continues, but that the silence has finally been broken. The screen fades to black. A simple yet powerful message appears. A true hero is someone who gives voice to the forgotten. Join us. Support the Harper Project. The video ends, leaving the viewer with a question to reflect on and comment. How many more Harpers are out there still waiting to be heard? The invitation is clear. The story isn't over. The change depends on each of us. And so ends the journey of Noah and Harper, a story that began with silence and became a cry of hope echoing across the nation. But between us, every great story deserves to be told, shared, remembered. If this story touched your heart, made you think and feel, be part of this movement. Subscribe to the channel because here, together, we bring to light the stories the world tries to forget. Like the video to show your support for those who fight against silence and neglect. And of course, share it, with friends, with family, with someone who needs to hear this message. Every click, every subscription, every share is a brushstroke on the grand canvas of change. A collective work of courage and compassion. So don't let this story end here. Let's spread Harper's voice, Noah's mission, and the legacy of all those who, like them, deserve to be heard. Thank you for listening. See you in the next chapter, because in the end, the best part of every story is the part that's still to come.